Hey everybody, it is Magnus and Jazz talking Game of Thrones. Why do I have this voice?
Because you're excited.
I'm super excited. We're talking about Season 5. Say hello to the peeps, Jazz.
Hello.
Yeah, it's us. Geek Furious and... Oh, you don't even have like a nickname, you just have your name.
I can't change who I am.
All right, no, hey, it's cool. You know, you gotta be who you gotta be. You know, it's all right. I think we wanted to talk. You know, we did podcasts for Game of Thrones seasons 1 and 2, right? That's what we did back in the day. And then after that, I started reading the books and all that stuff. So I'm a book reader. You've read some of the books, some of the material. And obviously now, with the end of season 5, we pretty much caught up to the books.
Yeah.
So there's no more like, oh, well...
In some cases, gone beyond.
Oh, yeah. Like the Battle of Ice, which hasn't happened yet in the books. And there's other battles. Well, there's other things, obviously, that didn't happen. That they kind of amalgamated characters and things like that in the show. But... I think we could just talk about Season 5 as a whole and then kind of talk about that finale. I think that would be a good course of action here.
Yeah.
So what did you think of Season 5 compared to maybe the other seasons? Like, you know, the way they told the story and maybe pacing and all that crap.
I thought it was kind of slow for the first part. The first, like, 5 or 6 episodes, it wasn't quite as... I don't know, I just remember, like, Season 1 and stuff. It felt like something really important was happening every episode. It doesn't quite feel that way anymore. But, I mean, they still try and do something shocking, you know, every week or every other week. But in terms of, like... Because it's been going on so long now, the audience, the book audience, and the TV audience knows that all these little things that's going on in Westeros aren't really like the main point that we're really concerned about, these bigger problems. So some of it does feel like, you know, treading water, and like the whole Dorne storyline was sort of...
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, so I think the last few episodes I enjoyed, but I think it started out kind of... Like, I didn't really rewatch any of the early episodes of this season. I watched them once, and that was it.
I did rewatch all the episodes. The only one I haven't actually rewatched is the finale. But I've rewatched all the episodes at least once, some of them more. Like Hard Home, I probably watched 12 times or something like that. But, yeah, I kind of felt like the season... I don't know, I think almost all the seasons after Season 1 kind of started off really slow and then built up. Season 3 was a little bit faster paced, and maybe that's why a lot of people consider Season 3 the best, but and Season 1, I think it's like Season 3, Season 1, or Season 1 and Season 3 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, and also Season 4, like the first episode of Season 4 was really solid. But, I don't know, I don't complain that much about how slow or how fast the show is going, because I know it's going to pick up towards the end, so I kind of expect that. The only problem, the big problem I had with the show was the Dorne stuff, which felt so tacked on and didn't feel like the story made that much sense. And obviously, having read the books, I know where Jaime actually goes and all that. Which, I don't know, I just thought it was more interesting, and I don't think they're ever going to tackle that stuff, which is... this is a minor spoiler, but it's kind of dealing with the remnants of the Red Wedding. Or the people who survived the Red Wedding. And I don't know that they're ever going to tackle that. And there are other little things that, like the Dorne plot touches on Daenerys' plot in the books, which clearly that's not going to happen now. And there are other characters in the Dorne plot in the books that make things a little bit more intriguing, and the plot that goes into all that stuff, which is, I guess, the one thing that they haven't done from the books yet is like what Dorne is planning. We've just gotten kind of like a surface discussion about that, but nothing has been revealed like it has been in the books. And you know, that stuff just almost every element of it outside of, like, really the only scene that I found interesting, and not because I'm a dude and I like nudity, but the jail scene was the only, like, time when I was like, oh, the Sand Snakes are kind of interesting, you know? Like, at least she's using her sexuality to manipulate a man into having a heart attack because of poison. Like, then I was like, okay, that's at least interesting. Other than that, like, I don't know. I just couldn't find anything that much fun about those characters. So anytime they went to Dorne, I kind of just like was like, all right, here we go. But otherwise,
Yeah.
outside of Sansa, you know, I was bothered by the Sansa rape, not because, you know, Sansa was raped and, you know, rape culture and all that stuff. I just had a problem with it because I thought the character was beyond that point, and that putting her back in that situation made no sense, which is why George didn't do it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I can see why they wanted her up there in Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
But they should have found a different way to do it.
Yeah, and I don't even understand why they couldn't just introduce Jane Poole as fake Arya like they did in the books. I mean, what, you have to introduce one more character? Big fucking deal. Like, and you already introduced her in season 1 anyway. So
and have Sansa still in disguise or something, and she's up there, and they don't know that she's Sansa or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand why you want her there geographically and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, they didn't need to do it like that.
And I also love the thing in the book, which is kind of like the revenge for the Red Wedding, which doesn't happen at all in the show. And I was like, what? That just seems like a great plot point too. And maybe they'll do it, but they'll have to do it differently. Like, they can't do it the way it was done in the books.
Yeah.
That would be really cool too. Like, if they did that. And there's so many little things that were left open-ended at the end of the season that I kind of was like, oh, I thought they were going to close this out on this. Like, we already know, book readers already know what happens to Theon and fake Arya. Although their paths actually cross with Stannis, and Stannis is dead. So, you know, and I know that's slightly a spoiler because some people are debating whether Sansa and Theon live. Of course Sansa and Theon live.
They're also debating whether Stannis is alive.
Yeah, I saw that, and no, he's dead. He's definitely dead. I don't see Brienne ever, like, Brienne would carry out her duty.
The only reason she wouldn't do it is if she thought there was some way he could help her.
No.
Do something else.
No, she's too honorable. She's too honorable. She would do her duty, which is to avenge her king. I don't. There's no way to me that she would not do it, because first of all, she's not even there in the books. Like, you know that she's not going to be there. She will never get her revenge in the books. So that means that there's no way. Like, I think she's going to find Sansa and then go with Sansa, and Sansa's going to turn into kind of like Lady Stoneheart in the books, where she sends Brienne on a mission. I think that's what's going to happen. And then, you know, because then we still don't know what mission Brienne gets sent on.
Well, where's Sansa going to hang out, though?
She'll go back to the Vale. She has her troops back there. And I think what you'll see is eventually you'll see the Vale troops march on Winterfell.
I love to see her go to the wall and be like, my stepbrother's here. And they're like, actually, we stabbed him.
That could happen. They could actually do that. There are theories that Theon will become Lord Commander, like the 1000th Lord Commander. Because, you know, Jon was 998th, he'll be a 999th, and then Theon will take the black, and he'll be like one of the few left, and he'll take his Lord Commander since he was already Prince of Winterfell. There are people who... Or that maybe Theon is the... you know, the prince that was promised. Like,
oh, no.
No, he isn't. But no. I'm just saying, like, there are all these theories out there.
Taking the black would at least give Theon something to do.
Yeah, and I think it could happen. Like, he could go there and see that Jon is dead and, you know, feel horrible and be like, well, you know, and now it's my duty. He would maybe even feel safe to do it then. So, you know, there's all these things that might happen with him. But we don't know because none of that stuff has happened in the books. I mean, the last time we see Theon, he's kind of essentially captured by Stannis. And we know Stannis is dead, so Theon has to go somewhere else. I think what will happen is Theon and Sansa will run into Brienne. Brienne will be like, okay, I'll take you back to the Vale or whatever, and Theon will say, I'll go take the
one oath kept, oath number 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen, and then Littlefinger will probably come back to the Vale, and then they'll have, hatch some plan to take down Winterfell. And
I don't know, if he came back to the Vale and Sansa was there, I'd be like, I'm gonna fucking rip your fucking face off.
Oh, she might kill him. Yeah, she might kill him, man. That would be interesting. That would be very interesting if she lost her mind. But again, none of this shit happens in the book, so why would she feel that need? So who knows, man? Who knows how she would react? But maybe she doesn't even go back to the Vale. Maybe she really does go on the Lady Stoneheart trip. So there are people who suggest that maybe the Brotherhood without banners ends up at the Wall, where they resurrect Jon. I mean, there's all these things that who knows? We don't really know, but there are so many goddamn theories. I mean, I have a theory which is that Jon is dead and that he walked into Ghost and there he'll stay, and that Arya will find out about it and she'll grab her needle and fucking go back to seek revenge or something like that. And when she gets there, the battle is already underway and all this other shit, and then there's all this warging with wolves. I think that's what could happen in the books. I have no idea what they're gonna do in the show.
I think his body will come back.
Yeah, I just don't know if it'll be Jon. I think it's very likely that he'll be almost like on Lost, the Man in Black. I think that's what it could be, where he's taken something else takes him over. Well, maybe it's even Bran. Maybe Bran wargs into his brother's body. I don't know. Or maybe the Night's King fucking
excessively
raises him.
Complicated. Yeah, he could become a White Walker.
Well, or a White. I mean, he's either going to become a White, because Whites still retain some sort of their consciousness, but he could become a White Walker, but I don't think so unless there's something specific to do with that the White Walkers, or the others as they're called in the books, are Starks. There's a theory that they are from the Stark line, from the original Stark line. I don't know. It could be that Craster is somehow has Stark blood in him. I can't remember if that's what it is.
I don't think they are, because I think they've been around longer.
Yeah, and there are theories that the Children of the Forest made them.
Ooh, that's a terrible accident.
Well, they made them to wipe out man. And then they made them so they couldn't reproduce and all this other stuff. So that's why they have to create their own. And apparently they don't have any females or anything like that. There are all these theories out there, and we don't know what it is, And also the other one was that they can't cross water. The magic around them doesn't allow them to cross water. So they have to go around water, and they can't cross through magic.
They didn't go into the sea.
Yeah, not the White Walker. The Whites can, but the White Walkers can't. So,
right.
But that's just a theory. We don't know.
When did they learn how to sail?
Well, maybe they do. Boats. Maybe they do. We don't know. But we also think that, or a lot of theories suggest that the wall. Well, we know from the books that the wall is made out of magic. So it's possible it was made out of magic to keep the White Walkers out.
Yes.
So we think that's true because in the books there's a character called Cold Hands who can't pass a certain point. And he is either a White or a White Walker. And we also saw that thing with Bran the previous season where the Whites that were chasing him could not pass through a certain area. So
yeah. Well, I think Kit Harington will be back eventually. Maybe not. I mean, not next season. Definitely not at the beginning, but I think he'll be returning at some point.
Well, he says he's not coming back next season. It's possible that they'll focus more on Bran and they won't even go to the Wall. There's a very good chance that they would just be like, well, we're not going to do the Wall at all. And
because Sam's gone and you know who's in charge now, so...
Yeah, so it might be that they just go okay, we're going to do Bran, we're going to do the Greyjoys.
They are doing the Tarleys.
Yeah, they're going to do the Charlies, which is going to be interesting because, Sam's dad is a badass.
Yeah.
And apparently, they're discussing that they're going to do the Greyjoy stuff from the books, which they haven't touched on. So that's one of the things from the books that they haven't done anything with.
Right.
And there's a huge plot line there, which is kind of like treading water a little bit, but whatever.
I'm wondering if they have to do the Greyjoys, if the whole... Because Euron Greyjoy is this great pirate, and he has all these treasures. If that's going to end up being important or not. They'll have to go into that.
Well, there was a casting call for a great pirate, so, late 40s to 50s. So, I think they're going to do his character, and we'll see. We don't really know what they will do with that. Also, most of that stuff is probably going to be in book 6, the importance of that character, so...
I just think it's funny that he's allegedly had a dragon egg or something, and he's like, but I dropped it off the side of the boat. I'm like, okay. But it's even more funny because I'm sure they're trying to figure out how to hatch one, and it's like, you know how to hatch one? Walk into a pyre carrying it. Walk into a giant pile of flame and see if you come out. A dragon will come out. I don't know if you'll come out.
Yeah, exactly. And, we know in the books, and I don't know if they will even bother with this. Maybe they will next season. So this is a slight spoiler, but there will be people who will try to tame the other dragons. Mm-hmm. And, that's interesting. I won't give anything away there.
Someone else mentioned, which seems like, it's probably why training them would be a good idea, but they're like, if you want to find them, why wouldn't you just, have the other dragons? I'm like, yeah, but then if they don't come back either, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
You could let them go and be like, find your mom. And I'm sure they could, but I don't know how I suppose you'd follow them, I guess.
Well, yeah, there are people who think that they maybe have dragon blood. Anybody who has Targaryen blood thinks maybe they can control them. The Blackfires maybe think that they can control them. There's all this shit that hasn't really even been touched on by the show yet. Varys is somewhere else entirely in the books.
Yeah.
Doing a whole fucking, huge, epic fucking thing, and there's this whole, that's the same thing with Tyrion. Tyrion isn't even near Meereen.
Oh, right, yeah. I'm glad he's there on the show, though.
Yeah, so am I. But it's just there's such a huge thing going on in the books that they are apparently never going to touch, which means it can't be that important in the books.
Yes, or at least most of it's not important. Could maybe bring up one or two things maybe that you need to, but
yeah, the end of
vast majority of it is not important.
The end of the last book, there's this big the epilogue. There's that big scene that seems like it's still some time away in the show. It might even be the end of next season. So I do wonder if they're going to be treading a little bit with... they'll get into book 6, but they actually still have a decent amount of material for a certain amount of episodes for season 6 that is still material that's left over from book 5. So, like I said, the Greyjoy being one, what Varys is actually doing, and what happens in the epilogue of that book, which kind of will change things. But I think that could also happen in episode 1 or even, episode 3 or something like that. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the Dany thing is definitely going to be some water treading, though, because they're probably going to keep her with, that Khalasar for a while.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be the whole season, though. I think it'll be a few episodes, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe half the season, I don't know, but
and they're not gonna know who she is, right?
Here's I've been thinking about this, because she's probably the most famous person over there. She's very recognizable because of her hair. Mm-hmm. And if one of this Khalasar's leaders knew Khal Drogo at any point, then he would know who she was.
Yeah.
So the
What was that
question
ring?
is,
What was that ring that she dropped?
she dropped it so that she could be tracked.
Oh, okay.
Like a clue that I was here and I'm probably about to get taken away.
I thought she was dropping it to basically, like, because it identified her or something.
Well, no, because that's not like the ring she had in season 1 or anything. Cause I looked.
Okay. All right.
No, she dropped it because she was like, "Oh, it's Dothraki. They're probably gonna take me away, so I better."
She's expecting her trackers to be damn good at finding one little fucking ring.
I mean, if you're... Yes, but the other thing is... I mean, it's just an extra clue. I'm sure they're going to be able to track Drogon, because you find giant piles of bones wherever Drogon is.
I suppose.
So then it's like, okay, let's look in the area, and it's like, oh, her ring's here. So that means they got separated, and we better... figure out what the fuck happened. But I thought it was weird seeing them there, because I'm not used to seeing Dothraki in like green lush areas.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if they're going to, if someone there is going to know who she is, and if that'll be bad for her in some way, or if they're going to know who she is and then just want to take her to what's that, Case Dothrine or whatever it's called, where all the widows go.
That'll be interesting.
So either way, she's gonna be moved. But I was explaining to someone, my friends, when we were watching the finale, because they were like talking about the dragons and all this stuff, and I was like, they're much nicer actually on the show, because in the book they usually like set her on fire for a second, and then they're like, oh, like, and they burned her hair off and shit, and then they're like, oh no, it's you, and
that's something that people were upset about with the with episode 9. They were like, "Oh, they didn't even burn her."
Well, in the show, they're making them much more like children, I think, than beastly, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. I actually think it's more fun that way. That, like, they actually recognize their mother. That's kind of cool. But yeah, well.
What?
Sorry, I just dropped something. No, but I was like, they're so they're like a cross between pets and babies on the show. It's great.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. One of my favorite scenes this season was seeing her like talk to it directly, and then be like, "Come on, let's go," and then get annoyed and climb on top of him, and he's like, "God, I just ate, and I'm in pain. Like, leave me the fuck alone," and just like puts his head down.
It was a very funny scene, and I thought it was a very like cinematic type scene, because it's usually the show doesn't pay attention to little things like that because it's too busy trying to like move to the next scene. So film does that a lot. It's kind of why Hard Home is so good, because Hard Home kind of does a few of those things where you have time to kind of breathe in the madness. And I think that scene was a lot of fun to watch, and I kind of like, oh, you could see like Dany teaching her dragon for an episode. They'll never do it though, but that would be fun, you know.
Yeah, it would.
And we'll see if it happens down the line where Tyrion kind of maybe figures out how to train them. We'll see.
Well, I think the interesting thing is people have been talking about, you know, the 3 heads of the dragon and who are the other heads of the dragon going to be. And I do think it's very probable that at least 2 of them will be warged into, or maybe 1, and maybe someone can ride the other one. But I don't think Drogon will be one of those. I think he and Daenerys, they're establishing on the show anyway that they have a very special bond. So I think he'll always be like ridden probably by her. So
I think that someone will warg into a dragon. I really think that that's been set up for a while, and it'll probably be Bran. And then the other one will be an actual rider, and obviously people think it might be Jon, but it could be someone else, and that's the thing. Like, you don't really... I know that some people think, oh, it's going to be Tyrion, and there are arguments for why it might be. I don't see it. I don't think Tyrion's ever going to be that. He's never going to be the dragon rider. He's going to be the dragon expert. I know it hasn't been really set up that well on the show. It's set up very well in the books. But it has been set up to some extent in the show, too, that Tyrion knows all about dragons and.
Well, yeah. Well, if Jon Snow does become, Azor, I forget how you say it, Azor High or whatever, reborn.
Azor High, yeah.
Yeah. Then he won't need to ride a dragon, I don't think.
Yeah.
He can just go out with his flaming sword and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And he can warg into Ghost. Pretty sweet deal.
It'll be interesting to see how that works out, because I think that a lot of people have had a lot of theories about that, and it may work out just the way the theories go, but I think it's also just as likely that George is going to do something entirely different. Like it's going to play out similarly to how the theories go, but he's going to do it very differently than what people imagine he's going to do.
I do think, though, he can't do anything too new, because then there's another thing that you have to explain about how and why that's possible. So I think it's going to be something, similar to what people have already been talking about.
Yeah, it'll just be, it'll be his version of it, and there have always been theories around Game of Thrones, and then whenever he's revealed something, there was always a detail that people were missing that he had dropped. And I think maybe people have gotten wise to it. And so I think the theories are getting closer to what George is going to do. But, how that plays out in the show versus how it plays in the books will be interesting. And that's why, I really hope for George's sake that he can get the next book out before the show reveals some of those plots. Yeah. He has basically, 10 months to do it. And if he can do it in that time, then he'll be fine, and the book will sell like crazy, and people will know before season 6 comes out. But, he's never going to get book 7 out before season 7, so, or even season 8, or 7.5, whatever they're going to do with it. People think that they're going to split the 7th season in 2 halves, and even then, he's not going to finish that book by the time that comes out. So this next season and the next book are the last time he can really get ahead of the show.
I'm wondering if the reason it takes him so long is if he has it all written down where things are supposed to be, because it seems like, if you look at a series like Harry Potter, she had that whole world built out. So, as she's writing these books, she has references to everything that she's already thought of. Yeah. So she can just go, okay, I can do this and not this and blah, blah, blah. And I know where I'm
George says he doesn't. He says he doesn't outline like that.
I think that's why that's taking him so long. Honestly.
Yeah, but he has the ideas in his head, and that's how he writes it and all that. So he's told, they probably have an outline, the producers, the showrunners, but he doesn't. So, I know the novel I'm writing, I outlined all the main beats first, and then I kind of wrote, and then as I went along, I said, okay, I want to add a character here, I want to add a scene here that isn't in the outline, and a lot of times that's more fun, because when you just stick into the outline, you start getting a little bit bored. You're like, whatever. No, I'm not comparing myself to George R. R. Martin or any writer, but I'm saying you can outline things, but you can it gets stale if you outline it too much, and some writers do really well with that.
I don't even mean outlines like that necessarily, but having all the background of all the shit that you're not totally haven't delved into yet, but all the details of that, already written out somewhere.
He says he knows all the big beats, he doesn't know the little beats. So he knows who's going to die, why they're going to die, or who's going to win, why they're going to win, all that stuff. He knows all that shit. He just doesn't know the little beats. Those are the ones he writes along the way, he just comes up with it on the spot. Because he has to make everything tie in, so that's the big deal for him, is that it has to make sense, and it can't just be Deus Ex Machina. You can't just have something that just works because you need it to work. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves about the show, is that and you see a lot of it this season. It's like you're just like, oh, that worked because they needed it to in that scene. Like that fucking candle. I tweeted at the time. I was like, what is this, a fucking Disney movie? Like,
yeah, but they're in a difficult place because they have a story that is been written but hasn't all been written, and they have to stick as near to that as they can while still sticking within the limited amount of time they have.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about when they do something so convenient where you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. Like I said, like Sansa putting the candle in the tower as Brienne is like, should I go? And then she goes, and then the candle. Like, come on, this is so fucking like lame fucking movie telling bullshit. You know, you see this stuff all the time, and this is not the show that does that shit. And then they do it, and you're just like, come on. Or fucking Marcella, like, oh, I love you, Daddy. Come on, dude. Come on. Really? That's so fucking lame. You know, and then people complain about all these other things. Like, at least those are valid story ideas. But this fucking, like, convenient plotting or convenient sequencing that just, you know, is just to shock or to surprise when it really does, because people expect it.
Well, the Marcella thing didn't bother me because that whole storyline was pointless, so I didn't care what they did. And for the other one, I mean, I guess you could have had, well, you needed a reason for Sansa to be out on that thing, so I guess you could have had her been really late, like Brienne had already left, and she gets up there and...
Well, you just stop
and
it before she puts the candle.
Yeah, she gets interrupted.
That's how you do that.
But yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I was like, okay.
And also, like the confrontation there is even silly because of who it is, and like she's not that important of a character for Theon. His redemption is to save her from somebody who is going to wound her. Like, and also, why would that girl do that? She would be afraid that Ramsay would kill her for harming Sansa. Like, there's not a logic there. It's just there to like kind of trick the audience or to make them think, oh, Theon is redeemed. I think the way it's done in the book could have been exactly done that way with Sansa instead of Jane Poole, and still be believable because you know Theon has this moral issue with what's going on, and he begins to remember himself. And by that point, he's already like the chapters are already Theon. Like it's not Reek, it's Theon now. So you know, or he refers to himself as Theon in those chapters. And I kind of thought that they missed an opportunity with that. I don't know, but it'll be more in that season.
I think why they did it is so that there's not any clue really to the audience that he is that he has changed.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he does it, and you're like, oh.
Because there were a lot of people on podcasts for people who haven't read the books who were like, you can never. Theon can never come back now. It's too late. And you're like, well, apparently he can, and he's going to, and so whatever. It was whatever. I'm not too down on it. It's just I'm not a fan of this convenient plotting that they've been doing, especially this season. But it happens all over the place because they have to condense the story. I just think there are better ways to do it. And the same you could see, like even the Stannis fight, which I doubt goes like that in the book. In the books, like what we know about the Battle of Ice is much more interesting than the way they do it. Like in the show, he's like he just goes to die.
I thought it was hilarious in the show.
Yeah, but I don't think that's how he would. That doesn't make any sense. Stannis would have come up with a better strategy, like at least to fight, not just to die, but he would have fought to at least try to win. You know, it would have been the honorable thing to do, to just go right into it and just go into the fray to die. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I think I mean, somehow he ended up in a forest, and I was like, you probably should have been there to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have helped you.
Yep, that would have definitely helped.
But I just thought it was hilarious when they pulled to the wide shot and he just got swallowed by all these.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what would have happened. I mean, they were going up against fucking horses. You're not gonna take on cavalry with a fucking few men. And you know, some of the men were running away. You know, they were just like they were like bailing out on him. They were like, "Oh fuck this, we're gonna get killed," so they started running away.
Well, didn't like some of his men who left after he burned his daughter, which is a legitimate reason to leave.
Well, all the sellswords basically.
Yeah, but then they joined the other side, and I'm like, pretty soon you're gonna want to leave that side too. I think they should have just taken off. It would have been better.
Yeah. So, how would you rate this season, like compared to the other seasons? Like, what's your favorite? Rate your favorite season, and then down to
my favorite
your least.
season is season 1.
Okay.
Mostly because I loved Khal Drogo. He was like one of my favorite characters.
And Ned Stark. I love Ned Stark.
Yes. So, I mean, just someone who's such a badass, but still so likable.
Yeah.
They don't really have anybody like that at the moment.
Yeah.
Who's just like pulling people's throats out when he gets threatened. Someone threatens his wife, and he's like, "I'm not even gonna use my weapons. I'm just gonna stab you with your own knife and rip your throat out." Like, there's nobody like that on the show anymore. I mean, I enjoyed it. I think the problem with the show is the same problem with the books. Is it's so much that it sort of starts to feel like I said at the beginning too, since we know what the end of this is, it's like the White Walkers are going to attack, and then how are they going to defeat them, and that's going to be this huge battle.
Maybe not, though. We don't know. There could be some other solution to it, and it could be another problem.
But at this point, the biggest issue is that. The biggest actual threat is that. Yeah. And so at this point, it's sort of like, I don't know. You wish things would, like, move on. I mean, he literally airlifted Daenerys out of Marine because he was like, okay, well, I don't think we can do anything else here at the moment, so let's literally just have her fly away.
But so where do these seasons rank then? 1 is 1. What's your second favorite? 1 is 1, and I don't. They are all one big season to me after that. I seriously don't know the difference. Really? Well,
yeah, because I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, that episode where this happens, and I was like, what season was that in? I have no idea.
I get confused about that sometimes, but I just did a rewatch, but for me, it would probably be season 3 is my favorite, then season 1, but it's very close. And
what happened in season 3?
The Red Wedding stuff and all that.
Oh, okay.
Like all that build up to that. And then season 4, 5, and 2. I think 2 is my least favorite because even on rewatches, while there's some great episodes, it does feel like it's just like a really slow and kind of nothing. And especially after you read the books, you're kind of like, oh wow, man, the season 2 is the least interesting compared to, like, the book is really interesting because of all that is happening in it. And they kind of just like nerfed the book 2 in season 2. So whereas season 1 is so close, like so fucking close to book 1.
I don't remember liking season 2 as much. Because that was hard too, because all these great characters were dead, and then it was season 2, and you're like, well, all right, now what's gonna happen? I guess,
Yeah, I think.
Season 3 was
Ygritte and Jon. Ygritte and Jon full of love. Jamie and Brienne, all that stuff. Yeah, so there was just so much like build up to all this stuff, and then let down. Like when people die. But it was very exciting, and I don't know.
I guess a lot of people died at the end of this episode.
Yeah. A lot of people died.
So next season will also feel kind of different because there won't be Jon Snow, there won't be Stannis, there won't be Meryn Trant. Yeah. Okay, I thought that was hilarious too. She was just like,
oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Like I thought it was an interesting way to do it. It was, kind of gross the way she killed him and all that stuff, but it was really twisted. But at the end of the day, kind of you were like satisfied because
she was like really calm about it.
Yeah, and she avenged her dancing teacher, and that's what we've all been waiting for. I thought she was going to use Needle, but she didn't.
This is why it's so funny to watch Game of Thrones, like with your casual friends who haven't read anything or whatever.
Yeah.
And because so many people have died, but there's all this magic and all this stuff in the show. In the opening thing where they showed the dance instructor again, I was like, oh, something about him being dead. And my friend goes, well, we don't know. And I'm like, no, he's dead.
Actually, the big trick was Benjen. And for like a week after that came out, people were like, oh my god, Benjen is coming back. And then it was just a ruse to fucking get to the stabbing moment, so... Yeah, so they tricked us, those little bastards, because usually they only put something in the preview that's gonna be actually in the show, and this time it wasn't.
It is weird though that the book he thinks about Benjen a lot more than the show. He like never talked about him. So then
there's nothing in the show about Arya except for one scene. We saw with Needle. Maybe she had trouble letting go of Needle, but other than that, like. Arya and Jon are really fucking close, and they think about each other, and obviously you can't do that in the show because you can't have them thinking, but you would think that they would like have them mention each other or something like that. And in fact, Jon actually gets stabbed. The opportunity to stab him in the book is because he thinks he's going to save Arya. And remember, he calls basically the wildlings to him and his brothers, if they want, to go take on Ramsay. And that never happens in the show because he gets that. It's a completely different setup. And so it's much cooler in the book, man. And it makes more sense. And then 1-1 has like, I think it's 1-1, right? Who goes fucking craze and crushes one of the knights there. And he's there trying to fucking calm him down, and that's when he gets stabbed. They like take the opportunity to do it. They don't like set him up. Well, no, they do set him up with that, but they basically take that opportunity to take him
in the
down.
show, Ollie's basically like a premeditated murderer.
Yeah.
He's like...
Yeah.
That was a total, like, A2 brute.
It was. It was definitely an homage. Yeah. But Jon is dead. It's all over. I thought they were going to have him warg, which I was really expecting. I was like,
you didn't
please.
See, I watched it very closely, and his pupils change and shit.
Well, your pupils change when you die, though.
Yeah, but they don't change twice.
I don't know. I thought it was just light. I didn't think it was anything. And also, he didn't warg. Like, you didn't see him warg. So, that's what I was expecting. And there was a leaked image of Jon lying there, like, dead, and which is exactly from the show. And then there was an image of him warging. And I don't know if they took it out or if it was never there. But it was a leaked image.
There.
Yeah, I think somebody may have done it. But, yeah, so...
I think he did. I think he did.
Well, oh yeah, he definitely did in the books. Or I'm pretty sure he did, because he's like, we know that he says ghost right at the end, and then it says he didn't feel the last stab or the last knife go in. I think that's because he went to ghost.
Well, in the book, is it like they're just continually stabbing him?
Yeah.
And he's dying. In this one, it was like, your turn. Okay, your turn. Your turn.
Well, no. I think they come one after the other. I don't remember exactly. I know he, like, actually blocks one of them, I think. And one of them tries to slit his throat and kind of just nicks him.
What's going to happen to his sword?
I'm sure they'll take it.
That's depressing.
Well, I don't know. We'll find out in whenever George fucking releases the next book.
That's my favorite thing about him for like the first 3 seasons when I didn't like him at all. Like, oh, he has that awesome sword.
Okay, any final words? Because I gotta run. Any final words on this season or the series or what's to come?
I think it's hilarious that people are like saying they're done with the show because you're done with it for 10 months, but you'll be back.
I threw the book when I read it, and then I picked it up and finished it. So I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's quitting, and then it has the record numbers every year. So whatever.
I mean, that is a good thing about having 10 months off, is people like forget that they vowed to quit the show. Now the show's back.
All right, well, it was fun finally doing another one of these Game of Thrones podcasts. Maybe we'll have to do actual podcasts next year because it'll be interesting.
Yes, because we'll be in the dark.
Oh yeah.
Unless
the book comes out before it, then we won't be. All right, well, cool. I'm sure that we'll probably have to do another podcast before then about something. Maybe the new Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, I'll see you later.
Yeah.